Stygian Onslaught is the new endgame mode in Genshin Impact. It has 3 stages and each stage has 1 boss. It will require you to build 3 teams and characters cannot be reused. This game mode has 6 difficulties, which are normal, advancing, hard, menacing, fearless, and dire. As the difficulties increase, the bosses will have more HP and an extra mechanic or 2. For me, the major selling point for this endgame mode is you can co-op with your friends. This is my first impressions of Stygian Onslaught. I was fortunate to have friends that still plays Genshin, and we got into a 4-player co-op session. We completed every difficulty available in co-op, from normal to menacing. We just made troll teams and effortlessly completed those difficulties. We got stumped by fearless difficulty for at least about 2 hours. For the most part, it was pretty fun with friends. It felt like a group effort in trying to solve a puzzle. With each failure, we go back to the drawing board, we brainstorm, and we go at it again. We had Battlefield 3 on lock. That boss was basically a training dummy. As long as you apply cryo, that boss basically gets stun locked and does nothing. Battlefield 1 and 2, we had trouble with. We tried a couple of team comps, but we quickly noticed that the boss have too much HP and the older character struggles to pass the DPS check. Battlefield 1 features the Hydra Tupla, and it has a DPS check and a mob mechanic. If you don't pass the DPS check, it's basically a wipe if you're playing in a party of 4. The boss spawns 2 mobs on each side, and if you don't kill them in time, it'll heal and power up the boss. Battlefield 2's boss is the Lava Dragon statue, and it has 3 forms. The first form, I'm just going to call it the Dome form, has incredible high elemental resistance, and you basically aren't doing any damage to it unless you force it to the next form. To make it change forms, right, you have to apply pyro damage and fill up the gauge. When it enters the second form, I'm going to call that the dragon form. Apart from pyro, all elemental resistance is decreased and it becomes a little bit more aggressive. The third form, which I'm going to call it the overheat form, has all its elemental resistance decrease even more and it gets stunned. This is like the huge DPS window where you really want to burst. So our goal was to try to get to its third form as soon as possible and then just burst. After spending a good amount of time bashing our face in Battlefield 1 and 2, we were eventually able to clear them. Both stages were a pretty close call, but a clear is a clear. We're planning to do it again next reset because it was really fun to play with friends. After my session with my friends, I tried clearing it solo in the Fearless and Dire difficulty. Dire is out of my reach. I don't have a well account. My roster is at least the 5-star limited characters are mostly Constellation 0. I think I have some that are low constellations, and some of them do have their signature weapons. If not, then they're probably sharing the weapons and whatnot. So Battlefield 1 and 2 were pretty rough. Battlefield 3, I had an easy time because I have a built cryo team and Skirk is OP. Battlefield 1 and 2, I had so many close calls, but I was always short on damage. This led me to trying to crit fish and restarting the run when I don't crit. I eventually got those lucky runs, but this solo experience started off nice and fun, turned into being a little bit more frustrating near the end. Before I rant, I want to go over what I like about Stygian Onslaught. I like that each boss has its own mechanic. It makes it feel like I'm going up against an MMO boss, and it's not just another spank and tank. I consider Spiral Abyss, Wuthering Waves Tower of Adversity, and Zenizone Zero's Shield Defense a spank and tank game mode. It started to get a little bit frustrating because the bosses are not hard, they just have a shitload of HP. Older DPS character will have trouble clearing this game mode because of the absurd amount of HP the bosses have, and older characters are just not able to pump as much damage as newer characters unless maybe they have like high constellations. But I think even like a C6 Klee from like version 1.x or a C6 Hu Tao probably doesn't do as much damage as a Mavuika or whatever, like a C0 Mavuika. I don't know, I'm just spitting bullshit, but maybe that's what I feel like. This game mode feels like it's a roster check. This is my nuanced take. I'm okay if the bosses have weakness or mechanics that requires a specific element to clear. In my opinion, it gives more depth to Genshin Impact. I like that the game is encouraging you to build multiple teams for specific scenarios or specific bosses. I'm not okay if it feels like it requires a specific character or two within that elemental pool of characters to beat that battlefield stage. An example would be Battlefield Stage 1. I feel like it needs Arlecchino or Mavuika as the main DPS to clear. If I bring a C0 Hu Tao or Klee as the main DPS, the chances of them clearing Battlefield 1 or even passing the DPS check feels very slim because they just can't compete in damage compared to Mavuika. Genshin Impact has a huge problem of HP inflation and has been getting increasingly egregious. They need to stop increasing the HP of bosses. I don't think they should lower it either because at this point we're kinda far too gone. Instead, what Hoyo needs to do is just start tweaking the numbers of older units to start doing comparable damage to the late 2024 to 2025 Genshin characters. We've seen Hoyo rework or tweak older characters in HSR and ZZZ. I think eventually Genshin Impact will have character rework or rebalances. It's just a matter of when, because let's be honest, Genshin is it's kind of lagging behind in anything related to quality of life. I don't understand how Genshin lacks so many QOL that's available in HSR and ZZZ, but I'll just save that rant for for a future update or a future video maybe. Anyways, I just don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. Let me know what you guys think about Stygian Onslaught. Hope you enjoyed this video and have a nice day.